Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. You guys know who it is. This is Tony. I am the host of this podcast, and we are your number one podcast for bringing you stories around death, dying, grief, addiction, and all the other stuff that come in between it with some amazing guests that not only talk the talk, but they have walked the walk and are out here making a difference in the world. As they say, you be the change that you want to see. And today I have a really amazing guest for you guys, and we're going to be talking about addiction, man. And this guy has an amazing story, and he's going to inspire you every step of the way. I promise you. So if you guys have any questions or comments, please put them in the comment section, as this is a live stream. So, you guys interact with us, ask us the questions, and get those questions answered as we go. Now, before I bring them up here, I would like to say that if this is your first time tuning in, do me a favor. Head on over to that YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you'll be notified every time that we drop a new episode. But most importantly, this is for educational purposes only. Now, without further ado, guys, help me welcome my next guest, Chris, to the show. Chris, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you for the opportunity. I love it when I get a chance to share my real story. You know what I mean?
Yes, man. And you have an amazing story. Now, before we get into your story, brother, do me a favor. Introduce yourself. Tell people who you are, where you're from, and about the work that you do.
Okay, so my name is Chris Baus. I founder of a business called Awareness to Obtain. It is a life coaching and a public speaking business. I'm from Tampa, Florida. And I also have over 35 years in business leadership as well. So.
Amazing. Now, we talked a little bit before we got on the show, but we also had the chance to talk before then, man. And you have an amazing journey, coming from addiction and getting to where you are. And we got to talk a little bit about the fentanyl epidemic, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But share your story with the audience, man. Tell them how you got to where you are today.
Okay, so it started. I learned that I could. My mom was a choir director for over 40 years, so I learned young that I could sing in church, and that carried on into my teenage years. And then I started a rock and roll band, like a lot of teenage kids do, and we got successful really quick. By the time I was 19, we were signed to a label, and given a band and a trailer, and we were traveling the world. But with that, the drinking and stuff had already started, but with that lifestyle, the addiction became very prevalent in our lives, and you literally got to work an hour a day, right? And then you got the rest of the day to party. So it's hard not to get wrapped up in all that.
That's very true. That's very true.
Yeah. And so, young and not even aware of what was happening while it was happening. And it got very bad. And along with my bandmates, all of our addiction ended up destroying that dream, and self-destructed. And then I came back and fell on my roots. My father was involved in construction. He was a shell contractor. So I fell back on that and started a career in construction management. And that made it all the way to being the vice president of a nationwide construction firm. And, so on the outside, I had made it, man, and I did the domestic thing, got married, started having kids, doing all that stuff. But on the inside, the addiction was taking its toll, and it was progressing even worse and worse. And somewhere along the way, the opiates got involved, and they completely destroyed me. The opiate addiction was the worst one. And my wife, being a medical professional, saw that, what I was doing was killing me. And at some point she could no longer sit there and watch it anymore. So she literally told me, look, either you find some help or you're done. And I still couldn't find help. I could find help. I didn't want to find help.
Right.
And so she kicked me out. I became homeless. I started spiraling even further to the point where I was unemployable. And ended up in the hospital in a medically induced coma because of pancreatitis.
Wow, man.
And you would think that would wake somebody up, right?
Yeah.
It did for a few days, but after they got me better, they woke me up 5 days later. They patched me all up, and within a week, I was drinking again.
Wow, dude. Wow.
And and it got so low that it's still hard to talk about. Well, one night I ended up swallowing a whole bottle of Xanax and drinking a half gallon of liquor and prayed to God that I wouldn't wake up.
Mm.
And at some point the next afternoon, I did wake up, and I woke up to the sheriff's deputies banging on my car because I was living in my car. And evidently, my children and what was my ex-wife at that point were calling them because I had sent her a bunch of messages while I was wasted that night about, what I had money put up for my kids, what to do with that, and how to sell my car and all that, right? So she thought I really did it. And so they Baker acted me. And within that 3 days of being Baker acted, I was sick as hell, coming off the opiates, all those things. And I learned that I was at the bottom, man, and I needed to do something because I was mad at God. I couldn't even die right, Like I was at that point. I had a resentment against God because he wouldn't even let me die. And
Wow.
and it was like, all right, what do I do now? So I had no money and no resources. I went to the Salvation Army Rehabilitation Program because it was a free program, and you had to work during the day, but you got the help that you needed at night. And they put you up, they fed you, they gave you clothes, and I stayed there for 6 months, and started working on myself, man. And then the journey grew into a life coach becoming a mentor of mine, and along that journey, I realized that I hated myself. And the first order of business was to, figure out how to fix that problem, because alcohol and drugs wasn't my issue. It was my solution.
Right.
I had no positive coping mechanisms on dealing with the fact that I hated myself. So I just drank it all and drugged it all away till I couldn't feel,
Yeah.
And at some point it worked until it didn't work. Right.
That's normally how it works, man. That's normally how it goes,
Yeah. And so I, make a long story short, I know I'm kind of babbling here, but I was like, very impressed with the work that the life coach did with me. And I found out I had a passion to help other brothers that were going through the same thing. So I went back to school, got certified as a life coach. And then this thing has grown from me helping, brothers in recovery to being a public speaker and helping guys all over the world deal with addiction and other issues.
Yeah. Again, man, what I'm saying, that's powerful stuff. And, you and I had the chance to talk about this, I coming from somebody who used to be an alcoholic myself, unfortunately, I didn't go. I tried going to a 12-step program, and I realized that it wasn't for me, and it was like, it took me having my son for me to say, I don't want to do this no more, right? Because I realized that throughout my journey, what I'm saying, and you and I talked about this a little bit, throughout my journey of being homeless and everything, alcohol was the thing that I could fall back on to help me escape the world that I was in. But it also changed my demeanor to a point, well, I can't really say it changed it, because I really didn't need an excuse to be violent towards people, right? I'm saying? And I was really good at hurt people. Alcohol just gave me, it helped numb me, right? You know what I'm saying? It really honestly helped numb me. And, and I, over a period of time, I realized that was my downfall. That was my downfall, because every time that I would get myself together, I realized that I wasn't drinking at the time. But as soon as I would get myself together, I would start drinking and I would fall back down. And when you do that over 20 times in your life, you have these ups and downs. At some point, you make a choice. I guess in a lot of ways, man, like most men like ourselves, I didn't want to be a part of life anymore.
Yeah.
And I thought that, if I did it this way, I'll slip up.
Yeah.
Someone's going to catch me, right? Because you got to understand, the life that I lived with being in the game for over 24 years, if someone was to catch me, okay, not a problem, take every reason for me not to fight.
Yeah.
But then I realized on the flip side of that no matter how much I drank, that pull to fight was always there. Like, I'm not going to make it easy for you type thing, right? You know, and just like yourself, man, you know, hitting that version of rock bottom. When my son was born, I said, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. And it took me being out at a party one night, and I forgot that I had my son. I'm in there, I'm 3 sheets in the wind. It's negative 25 degrees outside. I got my truck, you know, and I tell everybody, hey, man, I got to go. I just got my CDL, so I'm driving trash truck now. And I get in the car and I look over, and here's my son jumping in the car with me. And I realized I'm looking at the road go like this.
Yeah.
I stopped and I said, God, if you let me get home, I promise this is it. And when I got him home, I put him in bed. I told him I loved him, kissed him on his forehead, and closed his door, went in the kitchen and poured out everything. I didn't, you know, and again, I tried to do the 12-step. I realized it wasn't for me. And I went through the withdrawals, right? You know what I'm saying? If anybody who's ever gone through withdrawals, you know that it's no joke, man. It is no joke, you know. But now my question would be, do you feel that it would take men or anyone in general in addiction to hit their version of rock bottom before they decide to say no? And the reason why I ask that, because there are people out there, and the laws have changed so much that there's, you know, they actually have states where you can go and they supply you with the needles, and they have EMS on site for those times when you do overdose, and they bring you back, and these people go right back to doing it again. Right?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? What do you think about that?
I think that everybody's bottom is different, right? Like you just said, your bottom was different as mine, right? I think that it depends on how functioning you are, right? Because for me, I was always functioning on the outside. I always had a good job. You know, I was paying the bills. I was supporting my own habit, right? So it took that point of desperation where I wasn't supporting my own habit anymore, and I didn't have the good job, and I didn't have those things, right? That was what accumulated to my bottom. Other people, you know, it might be like you said, it was driving drunk with your son that made you wake up and say, you know what, I can't do this crap no more. You know what I mean? And so, but I do think it involves some point of desperation, right? Some point of saying, you know what, this isn't working. I can't do it like this anymore. And then you become vulnerable enough, because especially with men, I think the biggest problem that, you know, I see first off when I start dealing with somebody is they don't even know there's help out there. And for two, they got too much ego to ask.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. And you and I both know, because I think we, at this present point in time, we've seen both sides of it. Yeah. When a man has a lot of pride and a lot of ego, and they're scared of asking for help, because they don't think, well, society has taught us that no one cares, right? No one cares about what we're going through. And the only things that we are good for is providing and protecting. And that's where we hold our worth, right? So you take those two things away, a man will feel less valuable inside of any sort of relationship, whether it's a friendship or intimate relationship, right? You know, and so you take that value away from them, and we men, we will fall apart.
Yeah.
We will fall apart, right?
I think a lot of it's got to do with upbringing, right? I mean, you're old school like me, you know, you're brought up that men don't cry and emotional weakness and all that, right? So then once we have these issues, we're scared to, you know, admit that we do, because we think we're being a little baby, you know, just suck it up, be a man, figure it out.
Yeah.
So, but it took me being willing to ask somebody else, because I didn't have the answer, right? But once you get to that point where you don't have the answer and you're willing to ask somebody else, all right, man, I can't figure this out, you know, help me. What is the answer? And then somebody like me, you know, can step in and say, okay, bro, I don't exactly know what your answer is, but I'm going to show you exactly what I did, and then I'm going to help you figure your answer out.
Yeah. And you know, and I think that's part of it too, right? Is not having the answers, but you know, and you said the key thing, allowing being there with someone and allowing them to kind of figure it out, you know what I'm saying, what works for them, because not everything is going to work for everyone else. And I love the fact that you said that, like, what I did may not work for you, but I'm going to be here, and this is key. I'm going to be here with you, and you know what I'm saying, and we're going to help you figure it out. You know what I'm saying? Because unless you figure it out what works for you, you'll never be able to fully grasp the techniques that you need, right? You know, and this, you know, and I apply that same philosophy when I walk with men in grief. You know, I go, what worked for me may not work for you, but I promise you, while you're in here in this mud, I'm going to jump in here with you. And we're going to get through this thing together because, for one, you know what I'm saying, I know what it's like, and probably yourself too. I know what it's like to have the people that you really, really are looking for to be there, not be there. You find yourself in that dark abyss of just chaos. And, you know, and this is something that as men, we are afraid to admit, that being scared of the what ifs. Make it type thing, you know.
It's why insurance is a multi-billion-dollar business, right? It's because of what ifs, right? And to touch even more on what you were saying, it wasn't only that, you know, I thought that there was nobody out there that was dealing with what I was dealing with, and there was nobody to ask for help. It was that when I started digging into the issue, I realized that there were people out there that tried to help me my whole life. My ego got them, right?
Man.
You know, and then when you know, asking for help is the first step, right? But I've dealt with men. I guess the right way to say this is, right, there's a whole lot of people that want to change their life. There's very few people that are actually willing to do the work that it takes to change their life. Right. And then even something that I still struggle with today that I work on constantly is even fewer of those people are willing to do what it takes to keep what they've achieved.
Right.
Like when I started out in this, I was willing to do whatever it took to get sober and get my family back and all those things. Right. But I find myself being guilty now of I live a life of service and I want to help other people, but sometimes I forget to serve the people that are most important to me.
That's very true.
I become unwilling to I did whatever it took to get my wife and my children back, but sometimes I become unwilling to serve them in a way that allows me to keep them.
Yeah. And that goes to something that I heard from Inky Johnson, a beautiful motivational speaker. He was the guy that used to play football, and he got hit one time, and it tore up the whole side of his body. So now he only has one hand. And he said, when you're going through life and everything seems to be going good, we oftentimes forget the people that have been in our corner since day one.
Yeah.
So you become a public success, but a private failure.
Yeah.
And he goes, that needs to change. And so now my next question pertaining to that as well, do you think success, being successful, and in doing that? Because, you know, like I come from a place of poverty, right? You know what I'm saying? And my success, you can't really name it success. I was successful in selling drugs. I was successul in gang banging and things like that. You know what I'm saying? You may not look and be like, how do you label that as successful? Because unlike a lot of people that I know, I'm still here.
Yeah.
I made it. Although it almost did not.
Yeah. Amen.
Carry on their stories, you know. And so I can relate to it from that aspect, and from that vision and that terminology of being success. I use alcohol as a way of saying, screw it. You know what I'm saying? Like, who am I hurting? Type thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Do you
I would say that, you know, I used to think that success was something that it isn't.
Right.
I think that was how most of us get it distorted, right? Like for me now, success is happiness. right? And if you achieve that, then everything else just kind of falls in line, right?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
I used to think is that success was the Mustang or the big truck or the new house, and if I could just achieve this, then I would be successful. I would be happy, right? Well, I got all that crap, and I was still miserable, right?
Yeah.
For me, success is about learning to balance to know what's really important. You know,
Yeah.
a man becomes truly successful when his family comes first.
Mm,
You know,
I like that.
and I used to get that all upside down. You know, well, if
Yeah.
I could just buy my wife a new house, she'd be happy, and then I'd be happy, right?
Yeah.
I did that whole people pleasing thing. If I could just make her happy, I'll be happy. If I can make my boss happy, I'll be happy. And it was so deep rooted in the fact that from the age of like 12, I hated what I saw in the mirror.
Very true.
The only way for me to feel like I wasn't a piece of crap is if I could make you like me.
Mm. Man, I like that. That brings up my next thought and the question that goes along with it, because there's a lot of mental health aspects that go along with that, along with addiction, along with grief and trauma. In your thoughts, how does all of these things intertwine with one another? Because I have a thought about it, because I believe that everything feeds into everything else, and it's like an interwoven ball of chaos, right? You know what I'm saying? That you're constantly trying to unravel, and it brings this image to my head that when you're up in there, right? You know what I'm saying? You're caught up. Because you start off with one string. The next thing you know, your hands are caught all up over here. And you know what I'm saying? Now you're a big old mess and you're caught up in this big old ball of yarn, trying to figure out where it begins and where it ends. But you never really, you sometimes I believe that we miss the mark. It begins and ends with you.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Right?
Yeah.
So we spend a lot of times trying to pull these yarn out and trying to figure out, can I unhook this, and realize that it just keeps continually getting tangled in. Now, these are just my thoughts on it. So I'm going to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, like you said, it's 100% my life story in a nutshell, right? Like at a very young age, I didn't like what I saw in the mirror. And so that was kind of the beginning of all of it, right? And I would do all these different things. I would people please. I would, do all these different things to try to fix that root issue. That root issue was fear. Fear of not being accepted, fear of unworthiness, imposter syndrome, all those things, right, were my main problem. So I try to fix it with money. I try to fix it with drugs and alcohol. I try to fix it with pretty girls. I try to fix it with all this stuff, right? Instead of doing what really needed to happen was I needed to figure out a way to love myself. Right. And that was the only way that I was going to fix everything else. If I would go all the way back, figure out why I hated myself and how I could start liking the person that I looked at in the mirror.
Yeah.
And once I was able to accomplish that, and I'm not going to lie, it takes work. You know that, brother. It takes work. Right. And I did a whole lot of work, probably 5 years of personal development before I could even look in the mirror and like what I saw. And it involved, meditation and positive affirmation and mirror talks. I literally, early on, my life coach had me, when I got out of the shower in the morning, I was told to tell myself I love you 10 times every morning in the mirror.
Yeah.
And, and do gratitude lists and all these different things to just change that mindset. Right. Everybody has flaws. Everybody's going to look in the mirror and not like some of the stuff they see. Right. Like I'm getting gray and I got a big nose and I got all these things. Right. But it's like you can change that mindset to where when you look in the mirror, you see things that you do like instead of things that you hate. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hate that I hated the way I looked, but now when I look in the mirror, I like the fact that because I exercise at 54, I'm in good shape, and I like my body work looks and stuff like that. Right? That's the foundation of all of it. And then you come up with a daily routine that helps you. You know, I finally learned that the most important thing is to be in a positive attitude when you walk out of the door in the morning. It's all about that morning routine, right? If you
Yeah.
walk out the door feeling like a piece of crap, guess what? You're a piece of crap.
Yeah.
You know?
And you know, part of that is too, man, and I really want to get this to the audience as well. When you go out the door like that, it becomes a contagious, toxic thing.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that, because we all, on a day-to-day basis, right, no matter where we go, we'll run across somebody with an attitude. And if you're not careful, that person may interact with you in such a way where you may transfer their energy and you go off and now you have an attitude. And
Yep.
so, you know what I'm saying, and you inflict somebody else with that. And the person who started this is going back home at the end of the day like nothing has ever happened, right?
Yeah.
You know, but everybody will always have that story. And I find it really funny when I hear this, right? Man, you ain't gonna believe this. So everybody has these stories. I'm like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you know,
The biggest thing for me was, right, is like my first mentor told me, he's like, don't let 10 seconds ruin your whole day.
Yes.
You know, and he also told me that each day is yours. Don't give anybody else the power to take it away.
There you go.
Right? Like, some dude, you might be driving to work and some dude cuts you off. And you're all upside down because this dude just cut you off in traffic. You know what my coach said the answer to that is? Slow down and let him in. He can't cut you off if you let him in.
There you go. There you go. You know, and it's funny because it's really just that simple. A lot of times, sometimes, and I could be wrong, and I really hope that, you know, maybe somebody is out there doing this and they listen to it, paid attention to what they're doing. You know, a lot of times when we're driving, people's anxiety is way through the roof. And sometimes we're looking for a reason to express that anger towards someone else. So it really doesn't take much, right? You know what I'm saying? A person may be driving, you may see that person. Hey man, just early today when I was heading into the office, you know, like there's a little turn that comes, you know, when you go around a corner. And there's two lanes. There's one that leads over to the school, and there's one that keep you, you know, in a continuous lane. A lot of times what people do is that they will get in that inside lane, speed up, and then jump over in front of you, you know what I'm saying, because they're in a rush. And I often say, you know, if you got in the right lane in the beginning, you wouldn't have to speed because, for one, around here, there's a lot of bikers, there's a lot of scooters, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of children, a lot of animals walking through these streets. So you would be willing to put them in danger to be first?
Yeah. And I was one of those guys, right? You know, especially in the construction world, I always had a meeting to get to. I always had this, right? And I would literally try to race my GPS, right? Like it would say 30 minutes to destination. No, I can do that in 20, right? And so I would drive like a madman, and all that driving, I might save 3 minutes. So I just risked my life for 20 minutes to save 3 minutes.
Yeah.
What's the point in that, man?
It wasn't.
I was taking chances of not going home to my family so I could shave 3 minutes off the clock.
Or taking somebody else away from
there. Or taking somebody else's life, right?
We don't think about that, though.
No, we don't. We're like, oh, crap, I'm late, man. So what if you're 5 minutes late to a meeting? It's not the end of the world. It's like I said, it's about balancing priorities, right? Yeah. Now I know that no matter what happens during the day, it's just work, man. It can be fixed. We can fix it tomorrow. Yeah. Go home, kiss your wife, kiss your babies, and remember what's really important, man.
Yeah. No, let's talk about before I say this, I want to give everybody a trigger warning. I want to really dive into the mind of a man when it comes down to the thought of taking our lives, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because I really think it's important. I was just watching some statistics today. Because of the work that I do, I always want to see, how can I be better to help diminish these numbers, to take them down as much as I can, and it's like a never ending battle
Yeah.
right? It's a never-ending battle. And this, I'm talking to someone like myself, where we both have been unsuccessful at taking our lives, but we
Yeah.
know how we got there, right?
Mhm.
And I find that a lot of times it's a commonality across the board
Mhm.
that maybe we can begin to address these things to provide the support that we need for those men out there in those areas. You know, what do you think is the equalization when
Mhm.
it comes down to men being in that headspace?
I think the main thing is right is that I know, especially for me, I literally got to the point where I thought I was useless and everybody else was better off without me, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And 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 when you get to that point, you don't see nowhere else to turn, right? You become a burden to everyone around you,
yeah,
and you're just like, you know what? My kids, my wife, everybody that's in my life is better off if I'm not here, right?
yeah, yeah,
And the way out of that is to have someone like with what you do, especially with the grief, is you love someone that doesn't know how to love themselves.
very true.
Until they figure it out. I do the same thing. I teach a class at the rehab that I went to. I'm big about, pro bono recovery speeches and sponsoring and recovery and all that stuff. And that's what it's for, man. I was there. I was so low that I felt nobody gave a crap and I was better off gone. Right.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I want to be there for that guy that's there right now. And I want to tell him, dude, people love you. It's okay where you're at, but somebody loves you. I love you. I'll love you till you learn how to love yourself.
oh,
You know?
I love that. Yeah, because I think a lot of that too, man. I Mine was a little bit different. You know, when when I tried to take my life, I was very detailed about what I was going to do. At least I
Mhm.
thought about it, and I learned from an early age how to play chess in life. Now, this one was a little bit different because I had a bunch of different other people around me, that always considered me to be the strong one. So I learned how to play three-level chess. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? But I
Yeah.
mean, okay, I got these people up here, I've got these people up here. So I got to be able to maneuver around this, but I have to anticipate all the other moves on the board, right? In order to do what I wanted to do, but
Mhm.
also to not let people know what I was going to do, right? And so I learned. That's how I learned how to maneuver. And I realized in that moment, I was sitting there, and I just thought about my life, and I said, you know what? It doesn't really matter. Like, I'm an orphan.
Mhm.
So these are the things that I started thinking about. So mine
Yeah.
was a little bit different of a perspective because it's different when you're lonely, right? You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? You realize that the people that you love and care about are no longer there because life
Yeah.
has to take them away from
Mhm.
you, right? You know what I'm saying? And it was like a complete circle. I thought that was the way that was supposed to complete the circle. I started off, I had all of these beautiful family members. I met so many wonderful people across the board. And at the end, here I am at the crossroads thinking to myself, like, what was the point of it all?
Yeah.
Just to,
Yeah.
you put all these people around me just to take them away from me.
Mhm.
Like, I'm an orphan, right? My bloodline is done.
Mhm.
I am the, how did I end up here? And I felt that life had played a cruel joke on me.
Mhm.
I always was sitting around and I was talking to life and I was talking to God. I said, look, I don't understand what I did to you, but I, I, I can't do this anymore. I started off alone, and now I'm back to being alone again.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a very dark place for an
It
individual.
is. It is. And the main thing is, right, is that you get to that point to where it sounds like the best option
Right, right.
because you can't find any value of being alive,
Mm,
right?
yeah,
And and what astonishes me the most, if you look at the statistics, it's like 10 to 1 men between women committing suicide, right? And and I saw something a couple years ago that it's literally like 600 men an hour commit suicide or something. The ratio is insane, you know?
Yeah.
And so that rips my heart out, man. Like, you know, there is nobody out there that doesn't have value. There's nobody out there that is better off dead.
Very true.
You know, but I know that I felt like that, and I get why they feel like that, right? You can get to that point to where you feel like there's no option out there, and the best option is for you to end it all. I've been there.
Yeah.
And the only way for you to come out of that is some help by people that are willing to love you until you can figure out how to love yourself.
That's very true. You know, and I think a lot of us as men, we get tired of hurting. We get tired of feeling as if this is a never-ending battle, because sometimes we can't see through the darkness to the light. We don't understand that, hey, this is just a moment in time.
Yep.
You know, and I don't put nobody down. I don't. Okay, because I'm no better than the next person. I'm a little bit more open about talking about that aspect of it, you know, and being very open and vulnerable with it, and saying, no, you don't understand. I was that guy.
Yeah.
Right? I was that guy back when I was younger, dude. I was that dude I was the guy that you didn't want to see walking down the dark alleyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
It wasn't an assumption whether or not if I was going to beat you up or rob you. I'm about to do both of them.
That's it.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, no, you have a genuine fear right now, and I understand that. And you're absolutely right. I am going to get you.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not going to hide it, and I want you to see it coming.
Yeah.
When I got to that point, man, I was so tired. And it wasn't a physical tired. It was a mental, emotional, and spiritual tiredness that came along with it. That I didn't know what to do. I've been fighting my whole entire life, and finally I found something that I couldn't fight.
Yeah.
It's no fight you put in front of me. Oh, I'm about to tear it apart. We'll lose the car. If you knock me down, I'm getting back up. If you beat me up today, I'll be back tomorrow. Hell, I'll be back in the next couple of hours. Right?
Yeah. The physical beating is no big deal, right? Because we beat ourselves up worse than anybody else can.
Man.
It's the mental beating that you eventually can't take any longer.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And I remember talking to God. I said, look, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
I'm tired. I don't know how to fight anymore.
Yeah.
I would rather you take me away from this. Or two, allow me to leave.
Yeah. Allow me to leave. Yeah.
Allow me to leave. I won't come back. I won't be a part of society, because if you're going to keep punish me, punish me not around where people can see what you're doing to me, because I don't want them to have any sort of ill will towards you.
Yeah.
Let me go.
Yeah.
I live in Colorado. I can go deep into the mountains, right? I can find a cave.
Yeah.
There, I won't even mess with. Look, man, this was the pleading that I did. I said, I won't mess with nobody. I promise you, I won't. I won't even complain about being alone. I've been alone just let me go. That's all I wanted. Just let me go. Let me. If you're going to continue doing me this way, just let me go, and you can do whatever you want to with me, right? God said no. I told life. I said, I don't understand why you keep having me here. Like, this is a cruel joke that you played on me, and I don't understand it, because I don't know what I did. I don't know whose karma I'm paying for, but this isn't mine. And if it is my Jesus, I'm sorry, right?
Yeah.
But at some point, this has to stop. And life said, oh no, we just now getting started. And I said, you know what? You just now getting started, but I think I'm done.
Yeah.
You can keep whatever you got going on with me, let it end with me, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't want nobody else to ever have to pay for anything that I've ever done. So let it end with me.
Yeah.
And those were the two things that I remember being there. I mean, of course, the emotional aspect that came along with it, the emptiness, the darkness. And you know what, Chris? There was one thing that still stands out to this day, never left me. I realized I had no fear of dying. Right. And I didn't understand that was going to be the catalyst for what I do today.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had no fear of dying.
Yeah.
Did you?
It's because you were already dead on the inside, you know? Like the thing with me, right, is that, you know, in recovery, they say, don't regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. Right. And I'm still that guy. Right. Inside, that Chris is still there, that guy that wanted to end it all. What I did was I learned a different way to live so that I don't feel that way anymore.
Right.
But I need to remember that guy so that I don't turn back into him.
Yeah.
Right. Because there's so much stuff that goes on in your life, grief, right? Loss of loved ones, stuff like that. It wouldn't take me not doing the things that I do every day for very long to be right back there again. Right. And I realized, like I said, when me personally, I had a serious resentment with God because he wouldn't let me die. And then I realized that I wasn't done. He had a purpose for me, and his purpose was, you know, figure out a way out of all that crap so you can take others with you. You know, I had to go through all that pain and all that disappointment and all that stuff so that I could help other men figure out a way to get out of it too.
Right.
You know, and that was the hardest part because I was like, why me? Right. You know, like, come on, man. You know, I freaking worked every day. I did this. Why do I got to go through all this crap? Well, you know what? God uses people for different things because certain people are stronger than other people. Right.
Yeah.
And he won't ever give you more than you can handle. We went through all that crap because we can handle it. And we needed to go through all that crap so that we could be strong enough to help other people.
See, I love that you said that, but I also love what you said before then, because I think a lot of people will get to that point, but they don't see the other side of it, right? You know, where we're sitting around going, why am I going through all of this, right? It's hard to see the blessing when you're in the mess.
Yeah. And I did it with what's called, vocabulary placement or replacement, right?
Yeah.
So instead of saying why me, I started saying why not me? Right? Why not me be the one to figure out a way out of this and help other brothers along the way? Right? Why not me be the one that becomes strong enough to impact other people's lives? Right? And now one of the biggest things that I do is I see most men struggle with I have to, right? I have to go to work. I have to take my kids to school. I have to help my wife do this. I have to paint the house. I have to do this. I don't say I have to anymore. I get to.
Yeah.
Because there was a point in my life where I didn't get to see my kids. I didn't have the opportunity to paint the house for my wife. I didn't have a job to get to go to. Right. So now every morning when I wake up, it ain't, man, damn, I got to go to work today. No, I get to go to work today.
Yes.
You know,
I get to get up and do exactly what I love doing on a daily basis, right? You know what I'm saying? And that's I'm right there with you. Now it leads me to my next question, right? Because I want to know when did you start to put it together? When did you start seeing that everything that you went through was in line with everything that you do now? Because every experience, there's nothing ever wasted. I realize this now, right? Everything that you've ever gone through set you up to be effective in the lane that you're in right now, right? You know what I'm saying?
I think the biggest part for me, right, is like you have different mentors at different stages of your life, right? And when I was at the bottom of it, and I was in the Salvation Army, there was a major that, you know, in the Salvation Army that was running the rehab. And we had a lot of deep conversations. And one time he looked at me and he said, man, you've been a leader your whole life. You just didn't know what you were supposed to be leading.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you mean? He said, God put you through all that you could be a leader of men. And that's when it started to click, right? Instead of why did he put me through all this crap? It was like, okay, now I've graduated. Now I'm supposed to do what I'm supposed to do.
Right. You know, I love that you said that, and you really are a leader, and one of the many great leaders in this world, helping leading people to where they are. You know, there's a lot of people that I know that are just like that, man. Some amazing, beautiful men and women out here that are paving the way, doing some amazing things, right? And you know, someone told me this one time before, and I told them, and I still stand firm on this. They told me two things. They said, "You're an inspiration." I said, "No, I'm not. I'm just an example of a person that's gone through some crazy stuff and just figured out how to turn it around to make a difference in the world." You know, because I got so tired of seeing men struggle, and I got tired of men not having a place to where we can feel as if we can be vulnerable and open, be supported, right? Around people that cared about them, and truly care, right? And you know, and then someone said, "Oh man, you're a leader." I said, "No, I'm not a leader. I'm just someone who cares enough to walk with you in your darkest moments because I know what it's like to be alone." And someone else asked me a different question, like, "Why do you feel that way?" I said, "Because just like most of us, I know that I'm just passing through."
Yeah, we all are. We all
right.
are.
You know what I'm saying? So I look at that, and plus, you know what I'm saying? The reason why I never considered myself a leader because I never wanted anybody to follow me. Because dude, my life goes, you be following me and see me fall off the side of a mountain, and I don't need you coming behind me talking about, "Did you not see the clip?" No, I saw the clip. Did you not see the rest of it fall from under me?
Yeah.
You know? So,
and I finally realized, right, this is how I summed it all up. You can go to school, you can read a book, you can do all this education all you want, right? But in therapy, coaching, mentorship, whatever the case is, leadership, how are you going to help somebody when you ain't been where they're at?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
In order to help someone get through an issue, you have to have been there. You have to have been thrown in that fire and walked out the other side.
Right.
Then you're qualified to help them with that. You're qualified with grief because you've been there. You've walked through that. You've lived that hell, right?
Yeah.
So that now is your purpose to help other men figure out a way to get out of that hell. It's the same with me. If one piece of my story would have been missing, I would not be as qualified to do what I do.
There you go. There you go. We may not understand it when we're going through it, but we can both sit outside and look at the whole picture and go, "That's what it was going on, huh?"
Yeah. It's like it finally clicked for me, right? Like, you know, did I want to swallow a bottle of Xanax and try to not wake up? No, who wishes that on a person, right? Nobody wants to go through that. But now because I went through it and I figured out a way to come out on the other side of that, I can help other men get through it.
Yeah. Which leads me to my next question, because we were talking about this earlier, and I really want to touch on this a little bit. This fentanyl epidemic that we're going through that's ripping our nation apart. What are your thoughts on this? Because we're watching people drop.
It's a very passionate topic of mine, right? Because in my day, it was different, Oxycontin and stuff like that, right? And you have pill mills on every corner that you could literally go in there and say you had a bad back and they'd give you 300 pills, right?
Right.
So what happened is they cracked down on all of that and shut all them places down. But the pharmaceutical companies are going to make money. So what they did was they came up with a stronger drug. And whenever you come up with a drug like that, you're going to have people, you know the streets better than most, man. There's going to be people on the streets that are going to manipulate that, and they're going to figure out a way to give it to the masses, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so you have this drug out there that is literally dropping people like flies because it's too strong, and they can buy it on the street anywhere.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of times what happens, especially in what I've seen, is you got these people that they got sober for a little bit of time, and maybe they were on heroin or whatever the case was, then they relapse and they don't realize how strong that fentanyl is, and they do too much and they die.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, here's the crazy part about it is, and this hurts my heart to even say this. I have a friend, a really good friend of mine. He lost 3 of his kids the same way.
Mm-hmm.
His oldest down to his youngest. His oldest son took his life.
Yeah.
He injected meth and he mixed in fentanyl.
Yep.
And he decided one day he knew what he was doing. He took one, put it in there, melted it down, and shot it up.
Called a suicide cocktail. It's a suicide
cocktail. Right? Yeah, very popular. And so after that happened, so I knew every last one of his kids. In the next following year, before that even happened, you know, his youngest son and I used to work together, and we used to talk all the time. And I remember right before this happened, he asked me this question. He goes, "Do you think that those people who commit suicide still can still get into heaven?" And I told him, I said, "Yeah, they can." He said, "Okay." 3 days later, I got the phone call that he did it too.
Yeah.
A year after that, I get a phone call from my buddy. He says, "Man, I'm tired. I'm done." I said, "What's going on?" He goes, "My baby girl just took her life." Almost 3 years in a row.
Right. Wow.
A year apart from each and every last one of them. The only difference was the dates that they did it on. But same month, probably about a day or two apart. Every year, he's lost all 3 of his kids to the same thing.
Yeah.
And I looked at that man, and I didn't have no words for him.
Yeah.
But I did tell him, I said, "Brother, whatever you need to do,
yeah,
I want you to do that.
Yeah.
But do me a favor. Let me be there with you."
Yeah.
We can't change what has happened. And Lord knows I don't know the pain that you're going through. I've already lost one of my children, that, you know what I'm saying, from unknown causes. And you lost 3 of yours to the same daggone thing. And brother, this is one of those things that, you know, allow me the privilege and the honor just to sit with you. If you would allow me to do that.
Yeah.
I ain't got to fix this.
To me, that dude, those people are the inspiration, right? I learned a long time ago that no matter what you think you've gone through, there's somebody that went through a hell of a lot worse.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
For that dude to lose all his children and still want to be alive, that's an inspiration.
He's in a situation right now.
Right. You know,
because his wife did end up leaving him. So all of this just recently happened. His wife left him. And if he's listening right now, I'm talking about you, my brother, because I love you that much. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, there needs to be awareness of where you are. And I know you're in a dark place right now. And no matter where you are, you know what I'm saying, I'm still going to be here.
Yeah.
But I am going to put it out there so people understand. And because I want you to reach out to me, I want you to call me up and cuss me out. Like, why was you talking? You there? I ain't put your name out there, but if you're out there, I want you to call me up and cuss me out. Let me know that you're still okay. But I know where you at.
Yeah.
My man went down. He took his boat out to sea. Unfortunately, he made a couple stops before he went out there.
Yeah.
Right. So needless to say, he's grieving the best way he knows how right now.
Yeah.
So, brother, he's in my thoughts and my prayers, and it hurts my heart, man.
And that's exactly what he needs. He needs love in the worst way.
Right.
You know, like that's the whole thing. Is that it's exactly why I do what I do. There are so many people out there that are lost, and for good reason, right? Like who would blame that man for being lost after what he's been through?
Yes.
But he's the one that needs love more, you know, more than I do. You know, I mean, I'm in a good place right now. You know, I just wish I could take all the love and send it to him right now because he needs it a lot worse than I do, man.
And you already know, man. You already know, and that's what it's all about. It's all about giving that love to people. It's all about understanding what that looks like for each and every person that we do run across, right? You know, to have that empathy, to have that deep embedded understanding that we can't fix it, but we can walk with you.
Yeah.
But also, you know, without judgment, because a lot of people out there struggling right now, they get judged more than anyone else because everybody thinks that they're better than someone. I this is where I have my problem with someone that was in recovery, and it teed me off. Right? I'm not saying everybody's that way, but I'm saying that dude right there. If you was ever run across him, throat punch him for
Oh
me.
yeah, there's plenty of judgmental people in there.
Right. Sure. And so, you know, this dude was all in his recovery. And I thought, okay, you know, that's pretty cool. This man saw another addict on the street.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of approaching that man with understanding and compassion, he talked bad about him.
Yeah. I can't
Look
stand
at you.
I can't stand it.
You let your addiction get this bad. You're like, you can make a choice. You don't have to be this way. Look at me. I did it. And this and another. I'm looking at this man. I said, look here. I said, I'm gonna give you two choices, right? Just two. You know what I'm saying? One, you can keep sitting up here talking to that man the way that you are. I'm gonna punch you in your mouth. I don't want to.
Yep.
I don't want to, but I can't sit around and watch you do that man that way. That man is down on his luck, and he don't need your criticism.
Yeah.
You hypocrite. You downright hypocrite. He don't need that. Or you can just walk away.
Yeah.
And maybe, just maybe, find someone that's a little bit more equipped than you are.
Yeah.
To get in contact with me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to leave this man.
Yeah.
We can get him the help that he needs in order to get where he is, because that man is sitting up there right now going, I don't want to be this way, but I don't know how to change.
Yeah, exactly. And I deal with it all the time, right? Like my wife and other people I might be around, I see a homeless guy panhandling or whatever the case is, I give him money. And they're like, you're just enabling him. You know what he's going to do with that. Well, I've been down far enough that I know what withdrawal is, and withdrawals can kill you in itself. Right. So yeah, so what? That man's going to go buy a beer. I might have just saved his life.
Yeah.
And when I give him some money, I say, hey man, you might not be ready right now, but when you are, I can help you get out of this.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And I leave it at that. Now I give him my number. I might, 80 times out of 100, I never hear that dude. But the 20 times that I actually hear from them and get a chance to put somebody in rehab or just have a conversation with them, that's why I do this.
Yeah. Yes. It's the same reason, like, people like, to contrary belief, I do sleep. I may not sleep as much as, what I'm saying, but I do sleep, right? And maybe it's like an hour or two a day. You know what I'm saying? I function pretty good. But people go, why do you do this? I said, because for one, grief never takes a break.
Yeah, amen.
It doesn't care what time of day it is. It doesn't care who you are, what color you are, what gender you are. It does not care.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? I do this the way that I do it because I don't want to miss the opportunity to be of service to someone.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want to miss the opportunity to share what I got inside of me.
Yeah.
Because it's not mine.
Yeah.
And I'm obligated to these people. And people go, oh, you need to be obligated to yourself. I said, look, regardless of how you want to look at life, I said, at the end of the day, you go home to your family.
Yeah.
I said, fine.
Yeah.
That's right. You take that time out because you need it for your family. You need it for yourself. You needed to be doing this. I said, but at the end of the day, when I go home, I'm alone.
Yeah.
And when you can face that reality, you realize that it's bigger than you.
Yeah, it is.
Right? I have nothing but time on my hands.
Yeah.
And I would rather spend that time to make sure that someone else is okay.
Yeah.
Than to be out doing God knows what with who knows who. I don't have time for all of that.
Yeah.
I ain't got time for misconceptions or the time that it would take for me to go out here, and develop a scenario where I end up drinking in the corner alone because I can't deal with what I'm going through. No, I am good.
Yeah. And I feel the same way, right? I look at it like this. I gave up the rest of my time. I tried to die, right? So now every day when I wake up, it is my responsibility to give my time to other people, right? My time is not mine anymore. It's, I didn't want that time. I gave up on it. So now every day when I wake up, it's about how can I help? Who can I help? Right. I recently had a guy that literally saw an Instagram post, which was a 1-minute reel from one of my podcasts. And he called me, and successful lawyer, ended up getting hooked on crack, lost everything. Right. The dude called me being homeless. He had a cell phone, was about all he had left. And I didn't know how to help him because he was in Kentucky. But I said, hey, man, if you'll just give me 30 minutes and call me back, I'm going to try to figure this out. Right. And thank God he called me back. In that 30 minutes, I got a hold of the Salvation Army Rehab in Kentucky and talked to some people. And they had an opening. So I literally Ubered him to a Greyhound bus station because it was in a different town than where he was at. And then I Greyhounded him to close enough to the rehab where one of the people from the Salvation Army would go pick him up. Right. Nice. Took me 30 minutes, probably cost me $100 out of my pocket. But that man's in rehab now. He's got a chance. That's my responsibility, man, to do that for those people because somebody did it for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And people don't understand what that means when you can pay that forward to someone else. And I think that's another reason why we enjoy doing the things that we do. We walk with these individuals. We share who we are. We share our gifts with them. We share our knowledge and our wisdom. But most important, we give the most precious thing is our time, right? And we walk with them. We get them to their next destination in hopes that when we leave them, they journey off and they go on this path, that when they meet someone that was in a similar predicament that they were in, that they remember what it for them to get there and they give that to them, right? It's a chain reaction across the board. And I think
paying it forward.
Yeah. And I just posted something earlier I posted 2 things on Facebook earlier. One of them, it was a reminder to be kind.
Yeah.
Kindness can change the world.
Yeah.
And it's a reminder for everyone that anybody saw this post. If you haven't, go back and check it out. Be the change that you want to see.
Yeah.
Please be the change that you want to see. You want to see a good world? Well, we got to change the world that we in and make it good. Right. Secondly, I put up a video from this artist named Dax, and it's a reminder for those men out there, but also as a reminder for those women out there that may be looking at that didn't know, and it's called to be a man, right? And since we're both men, we work with men across the board. It's always a friendly reminder to take it easy on the men in your life when they're going through something tough. Because you got to remember, it's unfamiliar territory for us, right? And we don't have all the answers because society has beat certain things within inside of us, and it's for us to find a safe place. So if you do have those men in your world, make sure they have a soft place to lay their head.
Yeah, it's people in general, right? Like I hear people say all the time, they see a homeless person, oh, he just needs to go get a job.
Yeah.
You don't have a clue what that dude is going through and what he's been through, right? Unless you go talk to him and say, hey, man, what's going on with you? How can I help you? Right? I literally, I got all this social media. I got all this other stuff, right? I still get most of my work from human connection.
Yes.
I do it all the time. If I'm walking in Walmart and there's some dude who got his head down and you can tell he's going through it, I say, hey, man, you all right? Is there anything I can do to help you? And most of the time they look at you cross-eyed, right? And they just, dude, mind your own freaking business. But that one dude that says, yeah, man, you know what? Like, I'm going through a divorce and I'm upside down right now. Okay, here's my number. Call me. We'll have a free conversation, man. We'll try to figure out, no try to make him pay me, none of that stuff. Just call me, man, and let me figure out how I can help you.
Yeah.
I bought meals for people. I don't video it and put it on my YouTube channel and all that stuff, right? That's not what it's about, man. I do it because I was there. I was starving. I was drug addicted. I was homeless. I was all those things. And now I'm in a position to where I can do what a few guys did for me. There was a couple guys that literally saved my life. And so now all I want to do is maybe be that guy that saves somebody else's life.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. So, we're good. As we begin to wrap this up, my brother, and I really hope that we have the opportunity to do this again.
Yeah, sure.
Just talk a lot more about, I open up doors about a whole lot of different other areas of addiction and things like that. Unfortunately, I got another meeting I have to be in.
You're all good. You're all good.
So, my next question would be, how can people find you?
I have multiple links. Like I said, I sent most of them to you. I know you're going to put it on here, but I have an Instagram. Yeah, I have an Instagram account under Awareness to Obtain. Facebook is Christopher Baus. I also have a Awareness to Obtain Facebook group. I have a YouTube channel that's under the name Awareness to Obtain, which my podcast and tons of other videos are always on. And I'm happy to say that I'm working with a partner to start a new YouTube channel that's going to be a men's forum. And we're going to literally put nothing on there but exactly what you do, helping men with multiple kinds of issues, right? And I'm going to ask that, people like you allow me to share when I do this stuff on that channel, because that's what that forum is going to be all about. It's trying to make men understand that no matter what they're going through, somebody else has been through it and there's somebody willing to help.
Yeah. And like I said, we talked about this the last time, and I'm glad you put it out there because it's a commitment. I told you had me at hello.
Yep.
Yeah. Hello. So my next question would be to you, my brother. If you had a superpower, what would it be?
Oof. Love. To spread love, right? I think it literally takes you feeling like nobody cares and feeling like there's no love in the world for you to put the value of kindness and love, right? You have no idea what that dude walking down the street past you is going through. And if you could just say a kind word, it literally might save his life. So I would say the ability to spread love and kindness.
Yes. I love that. I definitely love that. Everybody, as we begin to wrap up this episode of the Grief Let's Talk About It podcast, a lot of you have already gone to the channel. You guys know I got probably about 4 more to go today. Things like I got some meetings in between, but I got one coming up in the next hour and a half or something like that. Tune in for that one. I got more coming in the afternoons and stuff like that. So tune in for those. But please do me a favor, go and check out Chris's Facebook, his YouTube, show him that support, subscribe to his channel, check out his content. And of course, you guys are going to see a lot more of Chris and myself, in the future. So guys, look forward to that. And, show that support. All right. And I would like to say that I want to say thank you guys for all the support and love that you guys give me. I couldn't do this without you guys, and I have nothing but a lot of love and respect for you guys. You guys always know that, And if you haven't already, do me a favor and head on over to that YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you'll be notified every time that we drop a new episode. We got some exciting things coming up, so keep an eye out for those as well. We got the conference coming up. I got the new book out, too. So you guys check that out on my Lulu. Get the Relentless, you guys already know. Show that support, read some stories, and share it with other people. If you enjoy these conversations, please support the channel. Maybe not for you. Maybe you know someone who can benefit from this conversation. Share them all. right?
Yeah.
As well as the other content and information that we have up here. All right. And now with that being said, guys, we're going to wrap up this episode of the Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. You guys, we're going to see you guys in the next episode. I love you. Have an amazing day if I don't see you. Peace.